Previously on.
Previously.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on the recap sequence.
Hey folks, welcome to the recap sequence. We're back. We've got a great creator interview today. We're joined by Sandy Carruthers, known through Sandstone Comics, our friend from PEI. We've had some opportunities to talk with Sandy over the years at our many cycles around the few cons that we hit, and it's the first time that we're having you on in this forum. So this is great.
Yeah, and the last time I saw Sandy, which was at HellCon, you had quite the beard going, sir. Then.
I did, yeah. Well, I mean, I did have it shaved beforehand, and I normally do before shows. And this time around, I got it really close because it's the start of the season. So, you know.
Wait for it, right? It's coming.
This time next month, it'll be down to hair again. Never get
Perfect. By the time we get to you, it's a comfort thing. It's like, where's Sandy's beard? By the time we see you in person, it'll be back. So,
you're in full glory. Don't worry about that.
All right. So we didn't have you on just to talk about your beard. We wanted to talk about first of all, you are going to be at AEX this weekend, and
That's right.
you'll have a table. You'll be you've got a new book that issue 2 of Century Man.
That's right.
I'd love to talk about, and all kinds of other endeavors. So we forgot to say this. Welcome to the show, Sandy. It's so great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I've watched your show on YouTube, and I have to say, guys, it's always thrilling to hear maritime voices talking about comic books, because on YouTube you get tons of shows of people talking about comic books, but you don't get maritime shows. And you guys are a unique facet in this, and I'm really hoping that you just get more and more views and more, you know. I've been spreading the word about this, and because I really like your format, and I really like your interviews.
Right on. We like to hear that. And you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that whole maritime thing, because when I first started doing radio a few years ago, that was one of the first things that somebody pointed out. It's like, you're going to do this for a living? I was like, no, I mean, it's a hobby. It's something I do for fun. And they're like, you're never going to be able to drop that maritime accent, though. That's something everybody's going to notice about you. That's the best part. Yeah. So I'm glad that we'll celebrate our maritimeness today.
I think it connects us, you know, because I mean, anybody outside of Canada would just hear us and say, well, they're Canadian, obviously.
Yes.
You know, and even though we have distinct dialects, you know, in our own regions and what have you, there's that common sort of thread, especially in Maritimes in particular, that I'm really happy about.
Well, and what we've come to realize over the course of our show, which has evolved over the years from being very focused on, you know, like what's on AMC and HBO, and once we really started getting into the in-person stuff, when we were able to go to cons and have our conversations with folks, the best conversations we have, and everybody who talks to a Maritimer knows the best conversation you're going to have is with a Maritimer. So over the years, we've kind of coalesced around one another, and that's, I think, what everybody's having fun with in the last 5 or 6 episodes that we've done is we've really had this local focus, and we are having great conversations. So thank you again for being part of this. It's a great experience for us as well.
Oh, and the list is long, and it just seems to keep growing every year. The list of creators that are coming out of the woodwork in the Maritimes. If you look in the Maritime, even just Prince Edward Island alone, you know, I have Sandstone happening here, but there's also Pegamoose Press. Troy and Brenda are doing their beautiful work on a regular basis, and they're doing a current Kickstarter as well. So, you know, this energy is going to keep on going and keep growing. I hope, you know, I'm going to keep encouraging it.
Good. Well, and that's something that's interesting, Sandy, is when we started getting back into the swing of going to, you know, the conventions, you know, once the pandemic had sort of not come to an end, but, you know, we've moved on from this. One of the things I had talked to you about was, you know, the fact that the independent creators especially in the Maritimes, it seems to have exploded with that.
Yeah. Sorry, but you're right. In particular, you know, because I know when I got back into it, it was about 5 years ago, and it was just after I retired from teaching. And I said, well, I'll be one person and maybe 2 or 3 other people in the Maritimes. And I just came into this wealth of creators that were all sort of having the same idea at the same time. It's so neat to be able to go to a show now. And it's actually, what's weirder is going to multiple shows just in the Maritimes.
Yeah. Yes.
which didn't exist before. We had ECCE, we had decaf. Before that, we had King Khan years ago. If you think about the convention, and Halcon, of course, wasn't around until like what, 12 years, 13 years ago, or what have you.
Right.
Is that right? 14 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this boom of shows, and I know a lot of people are kind of concerned about it. To me, it's like, I am so pleased. If I can hang my hat on any door where I can meet new people, which is what I really love about this business, is I get to meet people, and I get to talk to people, and I get to talk to people about what I love, which is comic books. And it's just, to me, it's like, and not even leave the Maritimes. I've got 10 shows I'm going to this year alone, and none of them are leaving the Maritimes. There's one, we potentially might be going to Montreal. We're working that out. Me and Andrew Clark and Tony White. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
They said the Trailer Park Boys are going to be there. And I said, well,
that's an
maybe
excellent
they think it's
us. Well, and that's
Maritimes.
That's a great thing you just touched on. Then is you're meeting all these other people, and now you're getting opportunities to collaborate with other people in there. Because I mean, let's face it, I'm excited about talking to you tonight because you are an artist and a writer, which is a rarity, I would think, in a lot of ways. And I think it's fascinating because, you're approaching this from two different, venues or processes, if you will. And yet issue 2 of Century Man, you are partnering up with Andrew Clark, which is just as awesome because of his book, Adam, which had come out last year.
I mean, you got to get him on board to talk to him about it. When I met Adam and I discovered Adam, when I met Andrew and I discovered Adam, it was just like, man, what a fantastically talented man this is, and storyteller. He just, and I realized very quickly, I said, I want to collaborate with this guy. And I said, what can I do it with? And Century Man, at that point, I was like, I wasn't feeling Century. Like I was sort of like in a quandary with them, because it was sort of like I'd done the thumbnails, I'd done the script, everything was ready to do the large pages, but there was just something missing. And so I talked to Andrew about it, and I said, listen, man, what can we do? And, do you believe in barter? Can we barter something? And so I'm coloring a book that him and Hal are working on, and then he agreed to pencil this book. Yeah, this again, it's all for the good, to promote ourselves as creators. And so everywhere we go, the more stuff that we put out there, I have Robert Doan's books selling on the table still, because they're Sandstone products and they're beautiful books. They are. And I'm always happy for, as a publisher, to be able to promote talent, in particular maritime talent, which is what I'm really excited about with Dark Coast, which is another title that we're going to be starting to work on after Century Man 2 gets out and about. So, and that's another story.
Right.
So your process then as a writer and artist, how does that work for you? Like if your work, so issue 1 of Century Man was you completely, correct?
Yeah, it was.
So comparing it to issue 2 working with Andrew, like how do you approach it?
Well, because the script was done, and because I had done the thumbnails and what have you, a lot of the groundwork, that type of groundwork. And what I mean by that is, like, when I do work, I'll always break a page down into a thumbnail. So if you look at an average page, which is about that big, a thumbnail is like about the size of a business card. But what happens is, when you work that small, you can work things out like perspective and composition, and you can look at the overall design of the page and see how it flows and how it works. So you resolve a lot of issues that when you go to the large size page, all of these issues are taken care of, because you've answered those issues. And so with Andrew, it was nice to be able to hand him the thumbnails. And I said, you don't have to take this religiously or anything like that. These are just suggestions, but here's the script and what have you. And he was, to his credit, he was immensely respectful of that process. But and also, when he explored new avenues, they were all for good, valid reasons. There was like, yeah, absolutely, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for because I wasn't like, oh no, you have to do it this way. I don't like playing that way, But it was a really smooth process. Like, I mean, and Andrew would send me a scan of his pencil, and then I just work on it, ink on it right away. And I'd send it back to him and he'd look at it, and then we do that process. And once that was finished, then it went on to coloring and then lettering and pre-press and what have you. But man, at the end of the day, I'm really pleased with the product. I'm holding it in my hand here. Look at that.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
So in your 10 show tour this year, will people be able to get their hands on copies of Century Man 1 and 2?
Yes, they will.
Awesome.
And also, of course, I'm reaching there. Sorry for my face.
No, quite all right.
But they're also Sandstone Presents, which of course is where Century Man begins.
Right.
So I'm going to do like a package deal where if they get Century Man 1 and 2, then they can get a good deal with the Sandstone Comics Presents before that, because of course Century Man #1 has Leapfrog #2 in it, so you have to get Leapfrog #1 anyway.
Of course,
I didn't
yeah.
plan it that way, but that's
That's
right. But I'm really pleased about that. And if you guys look at your PDF copy, if you look, there's a little tiny window right there,
Yeah.
and that's me and Andrew drinking.
No
having a
way.
drink
Nice.
and sharing
Aw.
each other.
Right on.
So when I finished the cover, when I finished the cover, I said, "Oh, I have to have Andrew and I on this cover somewhere." And so I saw that window and I said, "I'll just throw us in there." So I have my little black hat on, and he has his red cap on, and we're having a little drink.
Do you do that often?
This weekend?
Do you? Yeah, of course you should.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate, definitely. I will too. By the way, I won't be at AEX, but I will have that drink.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. When you kind of raised an interesting point as an artist writer, when you're creating your final copies of things, do you work in Easter eggs for your things that maybe only you'll notice, or things that you are fun to point out like this at the end of it?
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. If it's a nice summer day or something like that, and I'll go, sometimes I'll throw myself with my black hat, and you'll see a little shadow figure in the back, what have you, and that'll be me, or I did a face page once where it was just basically Neil Adams did it, where he took the various panels, but when you combined it together, it made Dead Man's face.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Comic book Dead Man. This
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And so I've always been amazed by that, like drawn panel by panel. So I tried it on a couple of things. And when I was working on Spook Man, I did a large page of that where you read it the panel by panel, but at the end of it, you look for, and it was the character with his hat and his eyes.
Nice.
And
Oh,
his
nice.
face
That's
was the
super
whole
cool.
page, but you had to look at it differently. So
Right.
I
Now I'm
like
curious.
fun stuff like that. Love
When
fun.
you created something like that, we've talked to previous people on the show where they've always said, well, I'm my own worst critic. How long did that process take you to finally develop that? When we stare back, there's Spookman looking back at you.
Well, it's tricky because of course you still have to tell a story that makes sense. So the trick is that if the story doesn't make sense, like, and now what I mean by that is the reader doesn't stumble on the page and they start where they need to start and they flow through like they need to flow through, and they don't have to think about it because they're not distracted by anything, then you've done the job right. But
Mhm.
oh, by the way, if you step back and look and squint your eyes, that's the face of the character you're looking at. Neil Adams was a genius, and Neil Adams did stuff like that, and I'm always, it's like, wow, what a cool challenge. And so I've done it a couple of times. I have a bit of fun with it.
That's awesome. And this is the fun thing about when we talk to guests like, Sandy and others that we've had on here, and how excited they get about the work that they're doing, and it comes across when we talk to, we can tell how much fun you've had working with Andrew on this collaboration for your book and so forth, that you guys are enjoying what you do, working together to create and present something to us.
I can't speak for Andrew because every time I talk to him, he cries. tears of joy.
Of course,
Yeah,
it must be.
I'm believing they're tears of joy. I don't. They're tears of joy. No,
We were
he's not here to defend himself.
of course, no,
Exactly,
that's the
yeah.
perfect opportunity to bring these facts forward. We've been talking with folks, with the folks that created the Got Your Six team, and book that's coming out fairly soon as well, and just kind of taking note of again this community of folks that are coming together regularly now. With I mean, you got 10
Well, the
cons or half
conventions
a
are
dozen way
doing
to
that.
go.
Conventions are linking us all
Exactly.
together.
Yeah.
So then I kind of liken it to a music explosion that like back in the 90s when everybody was whipping out a guitar. Not that that's a new thing, but there's definitely ebbs and flows of artistic kind of things that happen. People sort of come together and the orbits kind of mix up in a really awesome way. And I kind of feel like that's sort of the thing that's been happening since like 2023 or 2022 when things kind of started to get really reestablished again. Everybody's ready to go. Everybody got content, and then we're all seeing each other again. And I know some people kept it going pretty steady throughout the pandemic, and
yeah, like doing Zoom stuff and what have
of
you.
course, yeah. I mean, but
Wasn't the same though.
it definitely is not. It definitely is not. So to get out and that excitement of and for us going from table to table and we always see who's coming. Like whenever we're going around the corner, it's like, oh my gosh, this entire lineup of people that are all they're all here, and we're all so happy to see them.
Right.
So
I still remember when we went to Big Country Comic Expo, the first one that was here in our backyard, and we were so excited because it's finally here in Fredericton.
It was
and
a great
we went
show
there.
too.
And you were there, and it was so nice just to catch up with everyone because it's the first time in 4 years that we've had an opportunity, or 3 years at this point, to talk to you guys physically face to face, and it was such a nice experience.
Well, I think it was 2019. The last show I went to in 2019 was it HalCon? I went to a London show in Ontario. I went and I think that was in October, but I think HalCon was the last show I went
Same
to.
for us.
that was our
Yep.
last.
And I think maybe we crossed paths at that point.
Yep.
But and then everything went to hell, and everybody. It's such a weird time. But anyway, oh my gosh! And then the hurricane. Oh, wait, let's not talk.
Right. Yeah. Been the world's
Man,
of calamity for the last 5 years.
I don't know. I had a checklist and everything. Not on the checklist. What the hell? 2020s.
That wasn't part of the bingo card, was
I
it?
just want to make comic books. But but what was interesting about that was we came back out of the pandemic, as you said, and all of a sudden it wasn't just 3 or 4 shows. All of a sudden it was 6 shows and then 8 shows. And as I said, I'm always like amazed at the fact that there's this blossoming of shows and opportunities, and because I'll have comic friends that will say, oh, I don't like pop culture shows, and I said I love pop culture shows because the audience is hard there. They're not there for comic books. They're there for their love of whatever they're there for. But your job is to have something to offer that's different and unique, that hopefully you might be able to get a new conversion happening and what have you, new comic book readers and what have you. So
that's a fun challenge for you then.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And really,
that's a big. I'm sorry. That's a big part of why I do these shows. I remember, like yourself, when you were liking it to a music festival. I had watched this documentary years ago about bluegrass festivals that happened, where people would go and camp and just go from show to show to show. And there were these sort of families that became families. And I'm finding that's happening with the comic or the convention scene, is that, like yourselves, we're seeing people, it's not quantity, but it's that quality of time that we see each other. And we all have to work. We all have to put the week in. Every weekend, we all come out of it with crud and tired, cranky, but we're happy cranky. We have that. We have that satisfaction of meeting people, greeting people, and showing off what you got to show off. I can't think of anything better to do. So for me, when I was looking at that documentary, it was like, man, it'd be cool if there was something like that. And now here we are in 2024, and I've got this lineup of shows. You guys have a lineup of shows. And
it's
so
fantastic.
amazing. And we get to just talk about comic books.
Right? Exactly. Well, you talk about that conversion, right? It's awful stuff. That conversion that kind of happened. I mean, you're looking at like our show really has we haven't diverted away from the things that we started doing, but the focus is really kind of honed in on the things that we didn't really think at the time when we started we would be as focused on. But it happened so organically, and especially after coming out of the pandemic, it was like all of a sudden we were like all in on these people that we realized we missed so much from all of these previous experiences that we had. So it's a great community to be part of, and the Maritimes is a very good scene. Absolutely. Yeah. I lived in Ottawa for about 8 years, and I was always the Maritimer there. So I we're very proudly. So it's great. And so you definitely, when you see, kind of have the opportunity to look from the outside in to what you do, like when I'm editing a show or something, it's like, hey, but this is great. These are, and everybody really wants to be talking and supporting just as much as we feel like we have something to offer to help support folks. You guys support us.
100%.
The only reason people watch us is because we put you guys on. That's the whole thing. So we're immensely
you guys produce more content. I've watched all your content, and I need more content to keep because I draw here, at my table. And I turn you guys on, and I'm listening to you guys. So, and it's nice to see you in a YouTube format.
Well, and that's part of the thing with the pandemic forced us to go, okay, we want to keep doing this. We can't go into the radio station now. How are we going to do this? So first it was, I was on my iPad. He was in his bedroom on his computer, right? And then eventually we got to get back together, and now we're doing this. And I mean, we're having so much fun doing these things and talking to you creators like yourself. And
and I feel that energy. When I listen to you guys, I feel that energy. And it's like, God love you guys. Well, what you're doing right.
We feed off of the energy that comes to us, and it's kind of like like a feedback loop, if that's a good thing. I guess I have a positive feedback loop. And we did go kicking and screaming into the YouTube. We went to radio. We weren't made for this, but you get used to it.
I disagree. Because I've seen worse.
Oh, good. That's perfect.
I've seen worse, honestly.
That's our testimonial.
Yeah.
Right there. You've
seen
worse.
You've definitely seen worse than this.
Sequence.
Yeah. Subscribe. Exactly.
Yes. Just remember to subscribe and like. Always.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Because it could be worse.
We've seen worse.
We have.
That's a mantra. That's good. I think I'll stick with that mantra.
Yeah, I like it. It's a nice middle level bar. I think it's a good.
Right. It's attainable.
Yes.
Sandy, we'd be remiss if we didn't say congratulations to you for being nominated for Favorite Artist for Sequential Magazine Awards 2023. Along
Dave
with
writer. Dave writer.
And this was for Dark Sanctuary, right?
Sorry for my big face again.
No.
Dark Sanctuary. This is not the right issue, but that's issue 2.
Okay.
But issue 4, that was another thing I wanted to talk about. Issue 4, Dark Sanctuary, is going to come out for the first time with Century Man 2 at AEX.
Oh, wow.
So because number 3 came out last year, and then number 2, is coming, or number 4 is coming out at AEX. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, he says you can have
Dark Sanctuary is complete. It's like a 4 issue, and it's complete. So
was that always the plan when you and Dave came up with the concept for Dark Sanctuary? Is to let's do a 4 issue, and then you get the trade out of that?
Yeah, eventually, yeah. I'd like to get rid of the boxes of books I have first, and then we'll talk trade.
Right. Fair point.
The reality of it, right?
Yeah.
But that was a fantastic book. It is a fantastic. I'm really pleased with. I like, and to get back to, do I prefer writing my own or working with writers? I prefer working with writers.
Really? Okay.
I do. Because for me, I write, but I don't think I'm a very good writer. I think I'm an okay writer. Thank goodness for my wife. She edits, because you should see the butchery that I do. But Central Man too. We'll see where he goes. I got plans for him.
Yeah.
So people who want to vote for this, the voting ends midnight March 31st.
I guess so. Yeah.
For this,
yeah.
yes. I mean,
and the links are provided
Yep.
if you provide them on your.
They'll be
channel.
as I
Like the
do this,
ticker.
it'll hopefully go like that. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I always make these promises, and then I've committed them on video. So well,
No.
it
Yeah,
should be
the
rotating
link
right
provided
now and
below.
flashing. Yeah,
It's
it'll
a
be there.
simple thing. I think it's just you just go and it's very simple to do. And yes, please vote for
Yeah.
Dark Sanctuary.
It's a great honor though, like to be able to like
It is.
recognition for that. And I
It
mean,
is.
you're having, look how much fun you have right now. Century Man 2 coming out. You've got
Yes.
the Dark Sanctuary #4. You're at AEX this weekend here.
I am.
And are you on your own at that table, or are you going to have any guests with you?
No, it'll be just me, but Andrew will be beside me. He's taking the table beside me, so he'll be selling Adam because he's coming out with his new copy of Adam number 8.
Okay,
So
Nice.
he's finished that, so that's making its premiere at this show. So, and it's amazing. It looks really good. Oh, because I can't believe I'm leaving the table, but I got
this is fine. No, this is this is why people watch.
This is great for.
It's a real experience. It's
Oh, nice.
super cool.
beautiful.
That is,
Oh my
that's
God, that is
awesome.
so cool.
Wow.
So that's what Andrew's coming out with, and then also this one as well with Century Man 2. But my next project after Century Man 2 is going to be an anthology series with Maritime creators. So Tony White's written a story, Hal Hilden's written a story, Andrew's writing and drawing a story, and it's amazing what he's doing. I'm doing some stuff, and it's going to be for a series. Can you see that?
Dark Coast.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
Dark Coast.
That's
So,
awesome. So when
yeah.
is this going to be available?
Hopefully the fall.
Okay.
I'm bound for the
Nice.
fall. And the character is a maritime girl that got killed by wild creatures.
Okay.
And she's a ghost, and she's your host. So she introduces you to each story.
Did I read the name right? Is it Darkness? Is her
Yes,
name?
it is.
No.
That's her name.
And she's a
And it's
maritime.
going to be, and she's a maritimer, Newfoundlander.
Awesome.
And for the fan fund, or not the fan funding, but the Frederigan show that's happening.
Freddie Beach.
A certain niece of mine will be there, and she will be Darkness.
Oh,
I don't know if you know
nice.
Crystal. Do you remember Crystal? Crystal Clark? She was dressed up as She-Hulk.
Yes,
Yes.
actually, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
My niece.
I didn't realize that was your niece. That's amazing. Okay.
That is
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, she went to the London. She's in Toronto, and she went to the London show. And she was just dressed as Wonder Woman because I guess that's what you do. And she just fell in love with the whole cosplay world and just was addicted to it immediately. So she's right into it. So she's quite pleased to cosplay Darkness.
Well, that must be exciting for you to be able to have that representation.
Absolutely.
I mean, your creation, and then somebody is going
I'm really
to
excited.
cosplay it. I don't know if you remember Mike Campbell and his Super Pub strip that it was a webcomic basically based on Cheers, but with superheroes. Anyway, there was a character. It was a lizard. I forget the guy's name. Anyway, I about 8 years ago, I said I would love to make a costume of this, and I'll wear it at a con. So he did a free sketch for me and said, but he wrote on the sketch, this is specifically for your costume reference or whatever. So I didn't end up making the costume, but I feel I'm feeling that guilt because at first I'm thinking like, how amazing is it to have a character of yours and you have it cosplayed right next to you after the show, and I did not make myself a lizard man costume to.
Well, now here's your 2024.
Time to make it right.
And here's the thing, Sandy, if so, is this going to be at the Freddie Beach show then?
No, we're just making sort of the announcement. Well, this is the announcement premiere right here, but that'll be more, we'll have a few pages and stuff like that, like to show as an example.
But your niece being at which show?
But
she'll be at Freddie Beach
in August.
It would be really cool if she is there, and to get you and Hal and everyone who's collaborated on this to get a picture with Darkness right in the middle.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Oh,
yeah, of course.
Well, we even want to, like, if we have some of the stories done, it'd be kind of neat that she does a story time, where she reads a story,
Wow.
as Darkness.
That'd be very cool.
So I thought that would be clever idea.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I've got to ask you, Sandy. We've started this thing now where we ask the artists that we're talking to, you know, is there someone, a bucket list out there or a character out there that you would love to have a shot at? And the reason I say this, I'm going to go back to ECCE of last year. We had a chance to talk to Nick Bradshaw, and I just on a whim asked Nick if there was anybody he was ever wanted to, and his response was right off the bat was Rom. He wanted to always work and draw Rom. And then what came out in November of last year was Rom versus the X-Men, cover done by Nick Bradshaw.
Isn't
and I'm
that
just
cool?
thinking, it's such a neat thing for it. And, talking to artists like yourself, is there someone or character or characters out there that you'd love to have a shot at?
Oh man, I mean, I haven't thought about that, because of course, I'm doing my own stuff.
Yeah.
But if the door opened, I definitely would illustrate Silver Surfer. I think that would be cool.
Very cool.
Because I just love that character, and I've done doodles of him, and they've always worked out nicely. So yeah. Plus, I think he's still relevant. I think
I think so.
He will be with a couple of movies coming.
Silver Surfer in space with Galactus and that whole Kirby gang. All of that big cosmic stuff. That's where I'm like to go with. So yeah.
I'll have to. I think I know what my next sketch from Sandy's going to be, because I got a wicked Jonah Hex from him at HalCon last year. It was right up there on my wall at home, and it's so cool. I mean, the detail you put into it, and like looking at Century Man, the detail you put into issue 1, the work that Andrew puts in, it's like it's so captivating. The work you guys do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I like that you say it's work, because it is work. You just.
But you enjoy it though.
Well, enjoyment is a funny word, because it's like if you can enjoy it with your teeth like this, Yes, I enjoy it. I enjoy it more than I'd enjoy anything else. If that makes sense. If I was to work right now, and if somebody said you got to work. And I'd say, well, can I draw comic books? Yes, you can draw comic books. Then I'm fine. Because I mean, that's really, I feel very fortunate that I've positioned myself in a way that I can draw, and I can create, and I can do my own thing. And I just wish that on anybody. It's a tough field. It's tough, and there are a lot of times where you question a lot, but it's just worth it to just push through. But the caveat is the instant you finish something, like the instant I finished Dark Sanctuary, it was like, what's next? It's like you just don't even stop to think. You just say, what's next? What do we have to do next? Oh, Century Man 2 done. Oh, what's next? Oh, we have to do Dark Coast. And so, because I just need a project constantly. A friend of mine, he was my fellow instructor. He had an interest in wisdom to his artwork, and because somebody had asked him, because he did abstract work, and they said, "When do you know when you're finished of a painting? When do you stop doing it?" And he said, "I'm never finished." And in fact, he said, "I consider my artwork, since the day I started drawing very young, all the way until the day I die, that if you take all my artwork and just string it along, that's my artwork."
Yeah.
That's my artwork. And I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it, because we're so easily, confined to just looking at the one piece, but really the evolution of a piece comes from decades of going towards that goal. And I've got hopefully decades left to keep exploring it, because there's so much more to explore. I'm just beginning here. That's where I'm at with it, because for me, it's such an interesting art form. Doing comic books is so interesting, because it's kind of like it has no end to it. It's like, how music is just a couple of bars, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But yet everything comes from that basic scale. And comic books are kind of the same way. I mean, you have rectangles within rectangles within rectangles, and you have this combining of forces, including writing, which is no other medium does in that context, where it's not either or, it's both. If it's either or, then it's failed as a product. It's both. and to me, my ambition is always to have something that goes as seamlessly for the reader. So at the end of the day, they interact with it in that way that they've enjoyed it, and they're not confounded by it, or they're not confused by it, or they're not, I don't know where to go with this, or I'm bored of this, or there's not enough words, or there's not enough pictures, there's too many words, or it's finding that balance that I always find fascinating and challenge. And that's where the work is, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Do you find that the sort of the kind of the standardizations of certain ways of how comics are done? Do you find those work as good guardrails at the very least, or do you even like use that at all? Like, or do you just, when you start something, it's I'm not going to go by a certain pattern of rectangles within rectangles. Is it open to you, or do you follow a bit of a format to kind of keep yourself within a certain path?
I think it comes from just the volumes of books that I've read, comic books that I've read, since I was a kid, all the way through, and just observing, patterns and how patterns work, knowing when to. And Neil Adams was a huge influence for me in terms of page layouts, because he would take a static page when everything's just very normal, and then he'd just explode in this great, spastic panels and what have you. But he would do it in such a way that he wanted the reader's heart rate to increase. He wanted the reader to calm down. He wanted the reader to slow down, but then he wanted the reader to go very quickly. And that sort of interaction with the reader, I'm really fascinated in. I think that's where the gravy is, for the potatoes. And I'm willing to explore that, constantly in my book telling, and hopefully I'm getting it.
I mean, you've got a body of work that you should be very proud of,
Absolutely.
of course.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to seeing what you have. But I'm always impressed when you go to the table and then you see, okay, there's what I've got today, but there's what I've done, and it all stands the test of time, and it's all really interesting. So I like that view that you brought forward a few minutes ago, of just kind of that continuous evolution, that body of work that just
Yeah.
when does it, with creation in particular, when you're being a creative person, like those sparks are still flying. It's just you're putting your efforts into different lanes, but it's still the same kind of wave of creation. So I love that, and that you're just starting. That's awesome.
Yeah, I am. Well, because it's still so interesting.
Of
It's
course,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm always reminded, any kind of thing that you do that isn't work, that feels like work. It probably is work at that point, and then maybe it's become a different thing other than a pastime or a creative outlet. And obviously there's work. There's you have to put work into things, but when it
you put the
feels
hours in. You
You have
just
to
put the
enjoy it,
hours in,
right?
period.
yeah, but when it feels like that negative atmosphere that people have about the word work, I guess, it ceases to be fun. So
Well,
work.
people attribute work to a job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attribute
Work.
a job to just something you go to and leave and what have you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, work is work.
It's effort. It's
Like, I'm
effort.
putting brain energy into a product. This weekend I'm going to a convention. I intend to enjoy myself,
Yeah.
because they're always fun. I enjoy all the cons I go to, but it's still work. I'm
Yeah.
still on,
Yeah.
and at the end of it, you kind of have to, oh man, but then you have to open up your page and keep working. So yeah, but
How much?
hmm?
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I mean, to me, it's like, work shouldn't be a bad word, but it has been associated with that, and it's unfortunate. Some people will discourage themselves, and they might nip something at a bud, and and it's always unfortunate when that happens, because I know how close the precipice is, how you could just say, ah, forget it. Why am I doing this?
Mhm.
When you're at the conventions and whatnot, do you find you have a healthy balance of like doing work like on, say, the next Century Man or something, or doing sketches that people have come up and said, I'd like to, could you do a sketch of Jonah Hex?
Yeah, I do sketches at cons just to pass time and also because people enjoy them. But really, you know, my main thing with conventions is I like to meet people and I
Mhm.
like to, you know, I like to be able to give them an opportunity to see what I've got. And if they like what I've got, then, you know, and I try to keep it priced as properly as possible. Doing sketches is fun because like people like yourself, you know, you appreciate the process and you
Hmm.
appreciate what's going on with it. And I don't mind doing them. And also I sell my original art. You know, I have my original art. At shows as well. And, you know, people like to look at that sort of stuff. I do have a print that I'm going to, oh, I'll show you. I'm leaving the table again.
That's fine. You always come back with something good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to have these tiny prints. They're just little fun little things, but it's for an illustration I did a few years back called Ocean City.
Oh,
nice.
wow.
Too much reflection on that, or
No, that's
Oh,
good.
looks great. It looks great.
is it
Wow.
backwards? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Anyway, so I've got these are little prints, little cute.
Very
little-
nice. So those are those part of a book, or is that
No,
a
this is
it's a
just
concept print?
unpublished, my own work, you know, that I enjoy doing every now and then, you know.
It looks great.
Thank
I would
you.
love to see something in that setting. Just saying, it looks pretty cool.
I have to ask
Nice.
Sandy, when are you going to do a Western book? Because, well, I go back to the Jonah Hex that you did for me, but I also
Yeah.
got a print from you several years ago. It's the one
Yeah.
that says, "Here lies a
Mm.
cowboy," right? And he's against the
Yeah.
gravestone. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, we don't get a lot of good Western books out
We
there
don't.
now.
We don't. I'd like to say soon. I'd like to say
Okay.
soon.
All right.
Because I know Dark Coast is going to have a couple of set in that time period.
Nice.
But it's of course all in the Maritimes. So like I've got one story about in back in the day there to get to the island you had to go on a boat on an ice crossing. And this is an actual thing where they would lug the boat over the ice caps and then they'd sail it through and they so they go it basically it's where Borden is now and the mainland, and they would go that distance over the ice in these long rowboats. Have you heard of this? Yeah.
No.
I know I have not.
Yeah, do ice crossings in the Maritimes, and you'll be amazed. You'll see these
Okay.
stalwart
Okay.
fellas with ropes, and they're just lugging. So I have a story that has them doing this, you know, taking the mother and their daughter. They just came from Halifax, and the preacher man and what have you, and the bunch of men all lugging this boat across the ice caps in the strait. And in the middle of it, they encounter a freak storm and also something menacing and something dark and something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, that's that passion that just comes out there. You know, he's like,
I feel like too as a maritime.
The story
I
has
should
been
know
bounced
more
around
about
my head for a long time since I found about the ice cross. What did you say? Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, as I feel like as a maritimer, just how we started the conversation at the beginning of the show, I should know more about these ice crossings. So my
Find the
homework,
link below. Ice
yeah.
ice crossings.
I'm doing your job for
You
you,
know,
sorry, guys.
That's good.
It's funny because he's going, you know, then there's this something or something, and the first thing. Do you get these? I saw a while back you posted you started doing a rewatch of the X-Files. Is this where you're getting a lot of your ideas now? Is
Oh,
the greatness that is the X-Files?
right. Yeah. Gosh, maybe. No, because we did Dark Horse before I started watching the X-Files. But yeah,
But
maybe.
you're doing a rewatch right now.
Well, remember, I've got Men in Black roots too, so I'm
Okay, right.
Yeah.
dealing with aliens
That's all right.
and stuff like that, and you know, all sorts of crazy things. But I mean, really roots back to my love of horror books. It roots back to, oh, I should show you this.
This is what I love about this is that this is a YouTube video. If this, you know, when they play it on radio, go, this isn't good for radio.
No, and that's
This
what
is
the
great
for
YouTube. This is awesome.
This is what's so
What
great.
is-
Yeah, take that radio. Wow.
You guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the old Aurora models. I got this from Strange Adventures in Halifax, and it actually comes with glow in the dark skulls and stuff like
Oh,
that.
right.
I had these
Oh my
when I was a
gosh.
kid, and of course, all my models ended up being pellet practice in the backyard. It never survived. So now I'm this is my old man hobby, and what I'm going to do is the model is really easy to make. You make it in seconds, but
Right.
what I'm doing is I'm going to use a dry brush technique. you know, in the small models that you can in D&D games.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do that dry brush technique.
Yep.
I'm going to do this on this scale. So
Amazing.
That's amazing.
I used to paint
way.
Warhammer miniatures as a kid, and I was terrible at it. But I did do it.
Yeah.
You do not know what you're missing, listeners.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, that's my old man hobby right there. So, you know, if I look like I'm a little zoot, it's probably because of that glue.
That'll do it. Yeah, open the window if you can. When the weather's nicer, it'll probably be easier on you.
Well, that's what I'm waiting.
Yeah.
So, you said you have 10 shows coming up this year.
I do.
You're at AEX this weekend.
I'm at AEX this weekend. I'll just get my list here. My belly. Oh. All right. Yeah. So I did SummerCon, which was a Summerside show, and it was a collector's show. So kind of, you know, not really anything. But Tony White joined me, and he moved some comic books, which is nice. AEX is tomorrow or Saturday. I'm really looking forward to that. That's always a fun show. There's a new show in April in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia called Back Issues. Have you heard of this?
No.
No, I have not.
It's in
Another
Dartmouth.
show. Oh, my goodness.
Tony White and Chris Busquet
Yeah.
they're organizing it.
Okay.
So you might get a hold of them about that. That's in April. So I'm going to have a table there. In May, I'll be at Equinox in Halifax, Maritime in the Miramichi, and I'm looking forward to that. I always look forward to Maricon and CaperCon in Cape Breton. So
okay.
And then
I'm
June,
from
of course,
Cape Breton.
What's that?
I'm from Cape Breton. Just a little trivia. I was born in Sydney.
Man, I have not been there for years. I went last year, and man, it's such a beautiful,
Gorgeous
area.
Yeah.
I just wanted to stop at every corner just to photograph the scenery.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful there.
Nice people too. Really nice people. June is ECCE, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite shows, definitely. It's up there on the list. Montreal, maybe in July, maybe. We're still working that out. August is Freddie Beach, which is another excellent show. And then August, Decaf is happening. So
I have to say, Sandy, I know you're a very big proponent of Decaf. I saw you there last year. It was the first time I'd been there since like one of the original iterations, and I was so happy to see that Decaf is coming back. You know, they had lost the spot at Alderney Landing. Now they're back at Alderney Landing, and I just think everybody is super excited about this one.
I didn't understand the foolishness of Alderney or the ferry terminal. Why they made the decision not to do it because I mean Decaf was happening for over a decade, and it was for me, I couldn't imagine a season without Decaf. You know, Cal puts on a good show, and and what I like about it is the flow of people that are what I call innocent bystanders. They're just getting off the ferry to go home. And all of a sudden they're encountering all these tables with comic books on them. But it's amazing the people that I meet at those shows and how welcoming and how happy they are to go, wow, this is really cool. This is really different. So kind of cool.
It is. It really is.
And finally, Freddie Beach and then Decaf. And then the final one is the Down East Comic Con, which is Wood Islands, Prince Edward Island.
Oh, wow.
So Wood Islands is like east, going towards Montague. In PEI, and it was a little show in October that happened last year, and it had a good charm to it. It was small, but it had a charm to it, so definitely will be. And I think that's maybe where the Dark Coast will premiere. Is there maybe because it'll be in October, and I can see it being done by then. So yeah,
that's super exciting.
And then after that, that's my year. So you know.
That's a not busy year.
No.
And a handful of cons that I just haven't heard of, and maybe I'm just not paying enough attention. So it's good that you're bringing these up. Mental note. So make sure.
There's more.
There's more.
I mean, there's the Yarmouth one. There's one in Yarmouth called YCon.
YCon, yeah.
For the YCon.
Fundy Fan Festival, I still think is going on.
It's in St. John,
at the library.
Yep.
In the library, and St. John's always a great space. Like I've always had good times in St. John's.
They had HarborCon for a while too. I don't know if you. I went there one year.
They did HarborCon, and then they did another one. Oh, it was called the Fan Fun Day, and it was a good show. I had a good time. Yeah. But Fredericton is definitely a great little spot. I love that show.
Well, that's by far the easiest place for us to see people. So we're so glad you're coming. And of course we'll be at ECC in June. I might be at Miracon, maybe not at an official capacity, but if I do go there, I'll be sure to pop by.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, and then Andrew will be there, so you'll
Awesome.
be able to
Nice.
Well, I'll bring my stuff. If I won't go there as press, but I'll bring my press stuff for when I run into the people that I want to talk to. So, look, we're right at the end of our time here, but look, this is fantastic. All the best to you at AEX this weekend, and say hello to Andrew. We do want to talk to Andrew as soon as we possibly can. We'll get you both on this show if we don't see you in person first. So Sandy Carruthers, thank you so much.
It's been awesome,
for
Sandy.
reaching out, and
thank you guys.
we're so glad to get a chance to talk to you.
Good luck with your show, man.
Thank you.
Excellent. Keep on doing what you're doing.
We will, for sure. Again, thank you again. Have a great rest of the evening, and have an awesome con.
You too. Take care.
Yeah,
See you, Sandy.
Sandy.
Cheers.